Actually, Tom, we'll get to you in a second.
That's fine.
We're going to put you on hold. We're going to put you on the two deep real quickly as we're going to get to Nate Boyer, who's going to join us right now on set as we're broadcasting to you live from Army and Navy Radio Row. Nate Boyer, tremendous job. You could just put that on your head and we'll be all good. Nate, what's happening? How are you? Zach Gelb and Mike Zahn.
How you guys doing? I'm good.
Your story is just so incredible. You're a Green Beret, and then, of course, you went on and walked on the Texas football team, were a long snapper, and then you got a call, and you were an undrafted free agent going for the Seahawks for a few preseason games. But your patriotism is something that I just look at and I'm really impressed by. How'd you find your patriotism?
Honestly, I found it in the Darfur. And it's a region in Sudan, and I went over there, a couple years after 9/11, and I mean, obviously that had a big effect on me, and I think probably pretty much everybody in this country. But I went over there to do some relief work, and just not really expecting to find my patriotism for any reason, but just how enamored the people were with an American coming over there and spending his time helping them out. And they were like, why would you ever leave that place? I mean, it's such an amazing place, right? Tell us about it. And, so for me, that was kind of a lot of it. And just realizing how those people over there even appreciated just having the little things that they had, the tiny, the comforts, not the comforts that we have here, but, if they had a blanket or something to eat or clean water or something like that, it was huge to them. And I just had this profound appreciation for everything that we had here, and all the stuff that we take for granted, and I took for granted, and I still do now. But really, I came back and wanted to fight for that, you know what I mean? And so that's what led me to join the Army, and, I mean, made me the Patriot that I am today, not a New England Patriot.
Yeah, I'm a Patriot fan, so there you go. It sounds good to me with that. And maybe they'll bring you on as a long snapper. They actually have a guy from Navy as a long snapper right now.
Yep.
So just taking it back to representing our country, take us through the training process to be able to do that.
To become a Green Beret, you mean?
Yeah.
Man, it's about a year and a half, and it's pretty intense, as you can imagine. It's a lot of walking around with heavy objects on your back, and not a lot of sleeping, not a lot of eating. But it's grueling, but it's all, and a lot of it's individual, but everything you do kind of builds towards these team operations, and it's real small in Special Forces. It's 10, 12-man teams. So you really have to learn to, each guy has such a huge responsibility because we essentially do what an entire unit would do otherwise, and we're training indigenous forces and living alongside them and, fighting alongside them and all that. But so you really have to, it takes a certain type. You not only got to be a type A, but you got to be a problem solver. You got to think on your feet, and you can't let, all the adverse conditions and obstacles get you in your way or slow you down. It's so much of it is just finding a way, finding a way. And, it takes a certain type of guy. The attrition rate's really high, but once you get through, you end up, fighting and living and training alongside the best in the business.
Your story is just so tremendous. So then you go to Texas, and you've never played football before, and then you find a way to walk on to that football team. How'd you end up at Texas, and how did that all just come about?
Well, I'd visited Austin before, and it's an amazing city. I don't know if you guys have been, but
we were in Houston last week, but not
totally
in
different.
Austin. Totally different. I know.
Yeah.
I was explained to me on the plane as we were flying down there.
Yeah. The greatest quote I heard from somebody about Austin was a cab driver out there, and he said, the best way to describe Austin is all the cowboys smoke pot and all the hippies carry guns. You know what I mean? But it's true. It's just a strange place, but for whatever reason, everyone gets along, and it's a good time.
They're too nice of people.
I wouldn't say that, but yeah, no.
It's Texas. We're from the Northeast.
Okay, I got you.
And we're a little bit more mean people. Like
everyone
in Texas is, how you
kind
doing,
of freaks
sir?
You out.
How you doing? Thank you so much, and everything.
You think you're worried they're trying to take something from you? Or
I don't know.
Pull a fast one on you.
They won't have a lot of money if they want to take my money or anything. I don't have much. So just getting back to Texas.
I was actually on a deployment in Iraq when I kind of made the decision that I wanted to try to walk on there. And one of the things that had a big effect on me was the fact that of all the colleges I was thinking about, I wanted to go to a storied program. I knew that. But that Longhorn logo was prominent all over, Iraq on American soldiers. I mean, they had the flags hanging in their barracks. They had, ball caps when they're out of uniform and stuff like that. You just see more Texas fans than anybody. And I think a product of that is the fact that there's more people in the military from Texas than any other state, so that definitely has something to do with it. But it was just kind of something that I noticed. And actually, even if you watch American Sniper, towards the end of the movie, Bradley Cooper playing Chris Kyle, and he's wearing a Longhorn hat in there. And it was kind of interesting when I saw that later on after I'd already went to Texas. But I was like, that's exactly right. I mean, that's why that had a big effect on my decision to go walk on there. But I wanted it to be a challenge too, and that's one of the greatest programs in history, and obviously the toughest to make. Everybody in Texas wants to be a Longhorn when they're growing up, so I love a challenge,
We're talking to Nate Boyer, ex-Green Beret and former Texas walk-on, and even taking it a step further, you got to play a little bit for the Seattle Seahawks. What is it like bringing the American flag that one time that you led the team out with the American flag? Just what was that like?
It was amazing.
The emotions?
Yeah. I got to do it every game in college. It kind of became a tradition that I'd lead the team out and run around with the American flag. And so when I was up in Seattle before we played the Broncos in the home opener, they asked me, some of the staff was like, hey, would you want to run the flag out today? And I was like, yeah. I was like, you guys usually do that? They're like, no, we usually run the 12-man flag out, but we know you did it in college, and we think the fan base would love it, and is that something you'd be interested in doing? And so absolutely. For me, whenever I did that, whether in college or at that that opportunity in the NFL, it was always a time where I could kind of reflect and put everything in perspective and just remember, hey, we're playing a game. It's fun. It's a huge part of our culture. America and football are synonymous in so many ways, but and you need those type of things in society for the quality of life to be the way that it is. And I mean, that's honestly, as silly as it sounds, that's some of the stuff that we fight for over there, and. So football is very important, but when in that moment, I'm thinking about the guys that are serving over there right now, and those that paid the ultimate sacrifice, and it just kind of helps you relax, I think, too, and just remember this. Hey, just have fun today. It's just football, man. It doesn't matter. No one's dying. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, huge honor to be able to do that.
Are those 5 snaps frozen in time for you? Do you remember who you were lined up with, lined up against? I know that they were perfect snaps, but
of course they were. No, yeah, I'll never forget them, especially the first one. Everything just really slowed down, and I just remember kind of smiling inside to myself, about it, and just thinking like, man, you should not be here, but you're here, and just let it rip. So something I'll definitely never forget, and yeah, what a cool opportunity, and to get a shot with the Seahawks. Right now they're, and they're surging again right now, literally this season. I mean, they're I wouldn't be surprised if they end up back in the Super Bowl again. It's just that organization's getting it done. It's the biggest of any team in the league. It's the biggest challenge to go make the Seahawks as an undrafted free agent, and so that was another part of it for me. It was great.
How did you teach yourself how to long snap?
YouTube videos.
Really?
Yep, YouTube videos and Google and trial and error. But yeah, I didn't have any coach, none of that stuff. It was just messing around with it, man. I mean, I actually so I stayed in the military. I stayed in the National Guard while I was going to Texas, and I deployed a few times. And one of the summers, I went over to Afghanistan for about 4 months before I came back for training camp. And I brought a football with me and just snapped every day, built a little target out of plywood, and we just, sucked at it for a long time, but just kept at it, and eventually started to get the hang of it, and was able to throw a spiral, and then I was able to get a little bit of speed on it and getting accurate with it, and just kept working and messing with it. My technique's a little different than other people because I'm self-taught, but, so is Bubba Watson's, and that guy's wins Masters tournaments. So, it works for me. But, yeah, that's how I learn.
When you were at Texas, Mac Brown, during one of those hot practices, had you speak to the team about serving in Iraq. Just what did you tell them about it?
Yeah, I mean, it was just a point where, guys were kind of getting broke down. Complaining is contagious, you know what I mean? And so something's not going great for one guy. Maybe he's not getting the reps he thinks he should be getting, and all of a sudden he's kind of getting beat down and, starts boo-hooing, and it sort of just becomes a cancer sometimes at a practice. It's amazing how a practice can be affected by that. And it was just, it was during training camp. It was hot and humid in Austin in the summertime. And, he just said, tell these guys what it's really like, when it's hot and when you really are grinding and the stakes are a little bit higher, And so I just was talking to him about, look, it's an honor to be able to sweat out here with each other and play a game. You know what I mean? You need to embrace it. You got to embrace the suck. And that's something we talk about in the military all the time. But you got to enjoy it. You got to enjoy this grind because, you know, what it's potentially leading to. And just, hey, you can have fun when stuff's going horrible. I promise you. I've done it before. You know, and so it was for me, it was more just like, it wasn't so much like, oh, quit crying. It was more like, just look at what you're doing right now. You know what I mean? You're getting to play a game, you know, and you're going to play next week in front of 100,000 people. Just use this time, you know, to get better, but also enjoy this time with your brothers out on the football field, you know.
Nate Boyer joins us right now from Radio Row, Army and Navy in the Philadelphia Convention Center. So when you get that phone call as an undrafted free agent right after the 7th round wrapped up and it's Pete Carroll, take us through those emotions.
Yeah, I mean that was awesome. Just to you know, hear his voice and John Schneider's on the other end of the line just saying, "Look, we want you to come out here and compete." You know, it wasn't so much like, "Oh man, you know, great story, congratulations. We'd love to have you come visit us out here in Seattle for a little bit." It was like they wanted to talk about football and, you know, that opportunity and giving me a serious chance and a serious look. And so that was everything to me. I mean, that's all I wanted to hear from anybody. And so, yeah, it was a culmination of everything that I worked for and those dreams you have when you're a little kid of, you know, playing in the NFL. Even though knowing that I just do not have the talent or the size or the age and all that stuff, like I shouldn't be out here and I shouldn't be getting this chance, but I am. And you know, I sacrificed a lot to get there and work for it. So I felt like I earned it, you know, and that maybe I deserved to be out there.
Tell us what you're doing right now in your life.
So I got a lot of things going on, but the biggest project I got going on is called Conquering Killy. So Chris Long, who's defensive end for the Rams, reached out to me right after I got released from Seattle about this Water Boys project he has. So basically it's a clean water well project in Tanzania, and his goal is to get 32 wells dug from the 32 NFL teams. And they're raising money. He has, you know, honorary water boys on each of these teams, and they are raising money within the locker room and fan base to put a clean water well in the ground out there. And he asked me if I'd want to do some sort of an initiative on the side and be an ambassador in some way for this project. And I said, yeah. I said, how about can I do something with vets? And he said, yeah. So I decided to call up my buddy Blake, who's a Marine. He lost his leg on his first deployment in Afghanistan, took a knee on an IED. And he went through a couple of years of, you know, tough recovery and, you know, pill addiction and struggling with even wanting to be around. And now he's got that prosthetic leg and he's been training and grinding. And so Blake and I are going to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro in February. We're actually leaving the day after the Super Bowl. And we're doing it to raise money for these wells. And so far we've raised over $100,000. And our goal is to eventually raise $1 million, which would be enough for 22 wells. And that's one for representing the 22 vets a day that are losing the battle with suicide. You know, and the reason that's happening is because these guys are lacking purpose and they don't have that same mission and feeling like they're fighting for anything as important as what they fought for when they were serving their country. And so it's a way for us to kind of honor them and you know, be an example and show that we still can do great things. And you know, you may be beat up, but you're not broken. You know what I mean? So. Yeah, that's the big project I got going on. If people want to help out or donate, it's waterboys.org/Kili, Kili is the website. And, yeah, that's the number one thing I got going on right now.
Absolutely amazing. Make sure you guys check out that website and absolutely donate. And Nate Boyer joining us right here. Thanks so much for coming by.
Than't you, guys. Go Army.
You're tight with Jay Glazer, right?
I live with Jay Glazer.
Oh, my God. Does he still go to the dry cleaners with his T-shirts? Because last time I saw Jay Glazer, he went to the dry cleaner and there was a tag on him, because I know Jay pretty well, and he had a tag on like a regular T-shirt.
Jay does a lot of weird things. We'll just say that. But yeah, real quick, you know, that's another project I'm working on with him where we started an organization called MVP. It stands for Merging Vets and Players. So a lot of these veterans and players have these similar issues when they're coming off of active duty in the military or their football careers are ending and they're kind of struggling and lost. So we're bringing these guys together, starting a mentorship program, and that's something I'm really passionate about too. So that kind of goes along with what this Kilimanjaro project is for me, but that's a totally separate organization. But yeah, Jay and I are gonna we're gonna get this thing right and get these guys fixed up.
Hopefully Jay's not a snorer in that house, but thanks for coming by.
I got a separate entrance. Thank God.
All right, great to meet you. Thanks
yeah,
so
you
much.
Too. Thank
There's
you guys.
Nate Boyer, Zach Gelb, and Mike Zahn here with you live from Radio Row as we're